Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hoge, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. Join my VIP program. Train with my VIP lessons every month. Commit, decide to be a powerful, confident, advanced English speaker. Join my VIP program. Speak fluently, confidently, speak effortlessly. Join my VIP program today at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Hope you're having a good day today. Welcome. A beautiful fall day today in Japan. Clear skies. I went for a nice long walk today. Had a good time. I will be traveling tomorrow, flying tomorrow, so no podcast tomorrow. Well, unless, let me think. We'll see. I'll have my recorder with me. If I have a chance to record in the airport or something, maybe I'll do it, but probably not. When I travel, I usually am a little bit lazy. And it's tiring, so probably no audio podcast tomorrow, but then the next day I will do a show from my location. I'm not going to tell you yet exactly where I will be. I'll tell you when I get there. But I'll give you a hint. It's a tropical island. Going to a tropical island. Kind of swim in the ocean and enjoy the sun. Duty. D-U-T-Y. Duty. This is a powerful word in the English language. It is a word also that has a long history. East and West, in both the East and the West. This word duty. Now, in the past, you can read, for example, you can read the old writings of the Greeks and the Romans. It's going back very far. And this word was very important to them, this value, this idea of duty. They wrote about it. Many of the Romans in all different parts of life wrote about the importance of duty. Philosophers wrote about it. Soldiers, like Julius Caesar, wrote about it. Emperors, like Marcus Aurelius, wrote about it. Duty was right at the heart of Roman values. The Greeks, in Homer, right? The Iliad and the Odyssey. We see again and again the importance of duty. Over in the East, Confucius. Chinese. Very, very important. Duty. Now, this is a very, very, very positive word. When all of these people I mentioned wrote about duty, it was a very strong and positive and powerful value. But we have lost this. At least in America, we have. I'd say probably in most of the West, and maybe even in most of the world. You see, in the modern world, if you use this word duty with most Americans now, and you ask them, what does it mean? What does this word mean, duty? They will probably tell you something like obligation. Obligation. It means something you must do. Something you must do, or something you are supposed to do. That is your duty. And now, I think very unfortunately, now in American culture, this word has a bit of a negative feeling, I think, for most people. Duty, duty. Like that, like there's a little bit of a negative feeling around this word. This idea that you are, it's kind of the feeling that it's something you are forced to do, something you must do, but it's not very fun, right? It's not because now in America, everything, right? Everybody values fun. We have to enjoy everything, and everything must be fun and exciting. And so this idea of duty often now carries the idea or gives a feeling a little bit, in a small way, but a slight feeling maybe of obligation, of boredom, of something you don't really want to do, but you should or you must. And this way it's become a bit of a negative word, and you don't hear this word anymore. Not much, right? Like I said, if you read the Romans, duty, this word appears constantly. Right? Duty to what? Obligation to what? See, the Romans and the Greeks, and I think most ancient civilizations, most healthy civilizations had the idea of duty, but duty was not a negative thing. It was not just something you must do, you don't really want to. It was much different. It much more had the idea of the very positive feeling of contribution. When I read those old writings about this word duty, the duty, for example, the duty to your family. Right? Confucius, the Romans, the Greeks, and many, many more have written about this for over all of human history, the importance of doing your duty to or for your family. Doing your duty for your tribe, your extended family, your big family, which might also include, your close friends or other families that are connected to yours. And then as we got bigger nations, there was the idea, the importance of duty to your nation. So the Romans, this was very important to them. Duty to your family and duty to Rome, to the Roman nation itself, the Roman Empire. Confucius, I don't know a lot about Confucius, but I do know that he wrote quite a bit, quite similar actually. Duty to family, duty to the nation. When you read these writings, this idea of duty is a very, very positive thing. It's a very positive, very important thing, because this idea of duty, it's the idea that you as an individual, that every individual, every single person has a duty to their family. What does that mean? It means every single person needs to contribute to their family. Right? Not just take. No, you have a duty to give. You have a duty to make your family stronger. You have a duty to help everyone in your family as best you can. And this duty is different, of course, depending on your age and your ability. But you have it. Everybody has it. Everyone in the family has it. So even small children have a duty to their family. Now, maybe a very small child, what's their duty? Well, their duty is to not be really bad, right? Not to be super difficult, not to be a brat, right? Their duty is to listen to mom and dad and try to help out when they can, and, really basic stuff for very small children, of course. But then, of course, as they get older, let's say into teenager years, now this young person can contribute much, much, much more to the family. They have the ability to do so, and so their duty increases, right? They should be contributing in much bigger and better ways. And of course, parents have a huge amount of duty or duties for their children. Just having children, you automatically you're accepting that duty with the baby, just to take care of it, to protect them physically, to love them, to teach them, all those things. You know. These are not negative. These are positive. These are, right? Contribution, because it's by contributing that, you become fully human. Otherwise, you're just a parasite, right? You're like a little parasite sucking blood off of somebody else. If you never contribute, then you're just taking from others. And unfortunately, with our modern societies, and especially in the kind of socialistic mindset or the victim mindset, we have huge numbers of people of all ages around the world who have this parasite mentality, who hate the idea of duty, who hate this idea that they should, and indeed that they must contribute, that they must give, that they must add to, they must be useful, they must do something useful for other people. But see, the ancient people understood, and not even just ancient, even just 100 years ago, you can find, even, in America, people writing about duty a lot. So this is a very recent thing, this idea that we don't have a duty to our families, we don't have a duty to our nation, we don't have a duty to our tribe, to our group, to even to God, even to our religion. It's a recent thing, this idea that that's somehow bad, or that's somehow bad to expect that. But it's because we have such a selfish, lazy, parasite mentality that has happened, I'd say, probably in the 20th century. It really started the 1900s and continuing now. But traditionally, before that, duty was a very, very, very positive thing, because, of course, people in the past, they understood that this is what keeps society and the entire society functioning. This is what keeps us alive. In fact, if you go far, far back into the past, before Greece and Rome, before Babylon, before ancient India, just back to hunter-gatherers, right? Back to caveman times. You can imagine how hard the environment was, right? You could easily die. You could very easily die. You could starve to death because you didn't have enough food. You could be killed by another group of human beings, another tribe that were aggressive. You could have an accident. You could freeze to death. There's many ways to die. Many, many, many ways to die. And so the environment was very harsh, and to survive, just to live and keep going, humans had to cooperate. They had a duty to each other. To live completely alone at that time, you were almost certainly going to die. This is why humans are so social. We're not individual animals. And if you put us in a super difficult situation like that, 10,000 years ago or longer, being all alone by yourself in the wild, in the wilderness, you had a very low chance to survive. Even today, if you do that, most people would die very quickly. We need each other. So this was recognized right back to the roots of humanity, that we have a duty to each other, that the way we can survive, the best way to survive, is for all of us to work together. And that means everybody has to add something. Everyone must add something, right? You can imagine, again, in this tough time, think of like the Native Americans, the original, what we call American Indians. They were hunter-gatherers. They were just hunting their food and again, living in a difficult environment. So you can imagine, to survive that, they all had to work together. Everybody. They could not have parasites. Okay, no parasites. They could not just take care of, several people who did nothing, who just sat around doing nothing and just let other people do all the work. They would not accept that, right? Because life was very, very, very hard. It was easy to die. It was easy even for a whole group to die. And so if someone was super lazy and tried to be a parasite, they probably would just get rid of them, kick them out, make them go live by themselves and probably die. They did not accept this, right? This is where this very strong idea of duty. No, everybody must contribute or else we all die. So it doesn't matter. If you're weak, if you're not a good hunter, then you need to find a different way to help the group, to help your family, your tribe, which were basically the same at that time. And if you can't hunt very good, you're not good at hunting, and maybe you can fight so you can protect the tribe from others. Great. If you're not good at that, well, then you need to find some other way. Of course, women also had to contribute in different ways. And then as we became more advanced, right, we started to get larger nations like, ancient Egypt and the Greeks and the Romans and ancient India and China and Persia and all that. Then this idea of duty, it became a little bigger, and it got added to the idea of your whole nation, right? Duty to Rome, duty to Athens, duty to Sparta. But it's still the basic idea is still the same. We are all in this together, right? Our lives are better if we all contribute, if everybody should contribute. Parasites make everybody weak, just like your physical body. If we stick a bunch of parasites on you or inside of you, they suck your blood, they take your nutrition, your body will get weaker and weaker. They don't add anything. It's the same with human parasites in society. So this idea of duty was, first of all, everybody understood that it was important, right? It was very obvious why this was necessary. And it was very serious. Everybody had this idea of being honorable, that well, I don't know about everybody, but most people, that I must do my duty. I must do my duty, right? It means I must contribute to my family being God, family, nation. These were the three that were important, or God, family, and tribe. I think it's quite a tragedy that we are losing that. America has already lost it. I would say there's a gigantic number, maybe over half of the people in America, do not even accept this idea that they should contribute to their families in some way. I mean, there's so many spoiled children in the United States who have no thought at all that they should contribute to their family. Their whole mindset is just to take. I want this, I want, give me. And they never give anything themselves. They're not taught. And of course, it's the parents' fault. The parents don't teach them that, no, you have a duty also. You also must contribute. You must add to this family. You must make this family stronger. You're part of this family. You're not just a parasite. And on a very big level, I see in the United States the same problem at the national level, where we have a gigantic, just a super huge number of people who hate the idea of having a duty to their nation, to their country, having a duty to contribute to their country, the United States. Instead, they have a parasite mentality. They just want to take. Give me free stuff. Give me free stuff. It's just a parasite mentality. And if you tell them, no, you need to contribute, you need to add to, you need to do something to make our country stronger, then they'll get very upset and angry. They hate this idea. And because of that, of course, the country has gotten weaker and weaker and weaker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And we can also see that families have gotten weaker and weaker and weaker and sicker and sicker and sicker. Because, see, this idea of duty also is not just the kids with family in the United States. It's also the parents. We have a divorce rate in the United States. I think it's like 60%, 60, of people who get married will eventually get divorced. There used to be an idea in the past that you had a duty to your children, try to stay together, try not to get divorced, especially if you have children, because you have a duty to give them a stable home. This idea is mostly gone. And so it's just the idea of, no, I have to be happy. Everything must be pleasant. It's me. Again, no idea of duty. This is dangerous. And this is why we see, not only in the United States, but all around our modern world, families becoming weaker and weaker, falling apart, which causes great suffering and huge problems for children as they get older, and is causing huge problems for whole societies and whole countries. I think we should bring back this idea of duty and bring back the positive idea of duty, the positive emotions around duty, that when you do your duty, when you're doing something that what you should do to contribute, that you're doing something very good, very noble, very moral. But you're not doing your duty for your family just because I have to, because it's unpleasant. That's ridiculous. That's crazy, right? Any parent who loves their children, they don't think that way. They don't take care of their baby just because, I have to do this. No, they do it because with a feeling of love and contribution. It gives them a great and deep and powerful feeling of meaning, a purpose and meaning. So this is another word I think that was strongly connected to this idea of duty in the past, purpose, right? That your duty was part of your purpose. It gave you a very important, meaningful purpose. Your duty to your family, by serving your family, contributing to your family, helping your family in whatever way you could. Well, this gave you a very strong and important purpose in life. Not just your own selfish desires, but something much bigger and more important than that. And so there was always at least this source of meaning. So even for people, maybe they did not have some big mission and purpose in life, to start a company or to, I don't know, whatever, right? Even if they didn't have that, even if they had a job or work that they didn't like much, they still had this strong and powerful feeling of duty to their families, that they felt, I've got this purpose. I still have a very important purpose in my life. I'm contributing to my family. I'm taking care of my family. I'm helping my family in all these different ways. I have a powerful, meaningful purpose, this duty to my family. And indeed, most people also had that same powerful feeling of purpose and meaning towards their country, that they had a duty towards their country to contribute to society in some way, right? To add to. So maybe they had a job, maybe they didn't like it much. Let's say maybe they're working in a factory making cars, for example. Okay, so maybe the job, maybe the actual work they didn't like very much, but they still had a feeling of duty and pride and purpose because they're helping the country, right? They're helping the economy of the country. They're helping the country be prosperous. They're helping the company and their own town. All of these things gave a sense of contributing, a meaningful purpose of contribution. And of course, there can be religious duty as well. And again, most people have this, that by, something even simple, just by attending church and reading the Bible and studying it, that they were fulfilling, they were acting on their duty to God, to their religion. Just by simple things like that, and praying, whatever. And I'm using a Christian example, but this example would be true for any religion. So I think we should bring back this idea of duty connected to the ideas of contribution and purpose. Change this feeling around the word, because I think it's a great word. I love it when I read this word. I very much like it. But not duty meaning, I must do it, it's boring, and I gotta do it. No, duty because it's meaningful. Duty as purpose. Duty as contribution. I am reading the Upanishads, which are Indian, ancient, very ancient Indian. How would I describe it? Holy. Well, it's. I have a collection. We'll call it a holy book. They're actual. It's called the Upanishads, which means it's a collection of Upanishads. And the Upanishads are kind of the teachings of wise men from the past. Right? And then they're collected. And there are many of them. I think someone told me there are 108 of them. I have a collection. It's an English translation. I don't know. I need to read the introduction. I always skip the introductions to books. I need to read the introduction. Someone asked me, which ones are you reading, AJ? Because there are 108 of them. And I said, I don't know yet. I'm not sure. It's a collection. I'm not sure if it has all of them or just some of them. So I'll read the introduction. It's got more than one. I know that. I'm reading. It's several of the Upanishads. I don't know if if my book has all of 108 or just a smaller number. I'll tell you later this week. But oh man, I can't. This is my first time reading the Upanishads, and wow, I can't believe I'm 50 years old and I never read this before. Unbelievable. Meaning just incredibly powerful. Right there with the Gita. In fact, I'd say that, the Upanishads and the Gita, I know Indians already know this, but, these are the two holy books, okay? Both of them together. And the Upanishads, wow, just as powerful as the Gita already. I think I've read about 5 or 6 of the Upanishads so far. You could think of them in the book kind of like chapters. Just amazing. Unbelievably amazing. For me, at least. Wow. If I had to take 4, I just was thinking recently, if people ask this question, right? If you went to a desert island, a tropical island, an island with nothing, and you could only take 4 books, or you could only take 5 books, or you could only take 10 books, which books would you take? So this is a question to test you. Like, what do you think are the most important books, or most powerful books, or your super favorite books? Books you would read again and again and again, right? You probably wouldn't take a book just to read one time because you're stuck on the island for years and years, like Robinson Crusoe, or like that movie where the guy crashes on the island and he's stuck there for a while. Tom Hanks was in it. Can't remember the name of the movie. Anyway, so I was just thinking this: if I had to, which books would I read? So these would be books you would read again and again and again. So right now, if you ask me which books would I take, my top 4 would be the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Dhammapada, and the Tao Te Ching. 3 of those are Indian, and 1 is Chinese. And of course, English translations for me, because I don't read those original languages. But whoa. I put they're all right there on the same level for me. That same, just very, 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 very powerful in slightly different ways. They're all really pointing towards the same thing in different ways, but very, just superb. Anyway, reading the Upanishads got to thinking about India and also thinking about this idea of duty. And I was reminded of something I've read about. Something a powerful, we could call it, I guess, a tradition in Indian culture. And I've read about this several times in several different places. I think I even remember Mahatma Gandhi mentioning this in his book, his autobiography. And, Indian, Effortless English family members out there who are Indian, you can, of course, you can tell me more about this. Tell me on Gab or Twitter. Hopefully Gab will survive. They're trying to shut it down, those evil people. But anyway, Gab or on my Gab or my Twitter, both are AJ Hoge, AJHOGE. If you're Indian, tell me more about this. If you know more about this tradition I'm about to talk about, because obviously I'm not an expert because I'm not Indian. But anyway, here's the tradition as I understand it. That there is a tradition in India that continues today where you have what's called a householder, what Indians call a householder, Let's say householder. A householder is just basically, if it's a man, in America, we just would call this a family man. It's just a family. It's just a regular guy, basically. Just a regular person. A householder is a regular person who lives a normal life, right? They have a family, they get married, they have kids, they have a job or a business, or they, stay home and raise their children. They just, they live a normal life with all the normal things you must do in society. That's a householder. And the reason they have this word, a householder, is different than, for example, a monk, right? A monk leaves all of that. That's what makes a man a monk, not just in India, but everywhere. They leave all of that normal society, right? Normal jobs, marriage, kids, all the normal things that we need, actually, for our society and for humanity to keep going. Monks and nuns, or females, obviously, they leave that. In India, they have what are called sadhus. They also leave that. You get the idea. So a householder is a regular person that kind of lives a regular life. And the reason this is connected to duty, basically a householder is someone who chooses to do his duty to his family and to his society, or her family and society, right? So this just means all the normal things that we need to do to contribute to our families, to contribute to our societies. Education, learning, hopefully independent learning, but for most people it's school. Then, making money somehow in our modern world, right? Some way to get food and clothing and make money, and for most people, getting married, having children, taking care of your children, all those great duties we just talked about. And beyond even family, doing things that add or contribute somehow to society, right? Through work. Often it's through work, or maybe through volunteering, or whatever. So a householder is someone who contributes and does their duty. But this tradition, this very interesting tradition in India is about retirement. First, let me describe the normal American tradition of retirement. The American tradition of retirement, we have this idea, this sort of ideal. If you add an L to the end, it means it's kind of like a perfect idea. The ideal. The ideal of retirement in the United States, in America, is usually, we see it like in movies and TVs, or it used to be described this way, where you would work and work and work and work, like, your normal householder. You're working, going to your job, and then around age 65, you leave your job and you get some kind of payment, some kind of retirement payment from your company. And then what do you do? What is retirement then? What do you do for the rest of your life after 65? What's the message that we got in America about what is retirement in America? What is the idea? What is the tradition? It's not what everyone does, but what's the kind of main idea, the image of retirement in America? Well, basically, it was a life of leisure. Leisure means relaxation, fun, recreation, enjoyment. The idea was you work hard until you're 65 years old, and then you quit all that. And then what do? Well, then you go to the beach and you play golf. Oh, basically, that's it. Not much else. You just kind of lay around and don't do much. Basically, the ideal was the picture. The idea was that you're kind of lazy. And the problem with this, what has happened, what happened and what still happens, is that it sounds really great for a lot of people. Oh, I'll retire finally, because maybe they don't like their jobs. They're sick of working, and the idea to stop working sounds great. And believe me, I understand that for sure. But the problem is that after they stop working, They have nothing to do, they have no purpose. Because see, work at least gave them some purpose, a kind of duty, right? They had a duty to their work, to their job, and they were also working to make money for their family, so that they had this duty or these duties, and they were working for those duties to contribute in some way. And that gave them some purpose. Maybe it didn't feel like a really big purpose. Maybe it didn't feel super meaningful, but it was something. And so when they retire, suddenly they have nothing. They have no purpose at all. And what often happens and happened in the past is that, for the first year, it's kind of fun. Yay! And they go and they play golf, and maybe they travel and take a trip to Europe and whatever, and just be lazy around the house. And all that feels great because it's a nice break from the work that they didn't like, right? They were tired of work. And so it's kind of like a 1-year vacation or a 6-month vacation. It's a very long vacation. And as we all know, vacations are very nice usually, especially when you're working hard. But the problem is eventually what happened is, and what still happens, is that after a while, all that leisure starts to feel empty. It starts getting boring. Just sitting around doing nothing gets boring. Even just playing golf all the time gets boring. Even if you like golf, I like golf, but I wouldn't want to do it constantly every single day. And the problem is that they had no purpose anymore. Leisure is not a purpose, right? Just laying around doing nothing. That doesn't give you any purpose. There's no duty. There's no purpose. There's no contribution. There's no meaning. And so what would happen is many people, typically men, although now it would be men or women, but in the past more men typically would really fall into depression. They would become very depressed. You can find articles online about this, about how so many men would retire and then die 1 or 2 years later. Even though they seem totally healthy, they seem fine, but it's like by losing the job, by leaving the job, they just lost the meaning of life, became depressed, and then died, which is sad, right? I mean, we're going to die, but it's sad to die that way. So that's the old American ideal or image, typical image of retirement. Now let me talk about the Indian one that I like so much. In India, there is a tradition for someone that when they reach an older age, after they have done their duty to family, work, society, right? So basically the same idea. They usually they're reaching some age where they are going to retire. So they also retire. There's the same kind of tradition. If they have a business, they give the business to maybe a son or a daughter, or they sell it or they close it. If they have a job, they leave the job. So that part's the same. But in India, this tradition, the idea is that you're not retiring for leisure. You're not retiring just to have fun and go to the beach and play golf. Rather, it's a religious idea. The idea is that now you have done your duties in life, your important duties. And now you're going to focus, for the rest of your life, you're going to focus on wisdom, truth, and in their case, religion. I mean, basically, the way they might say it is they're going to then focus on God for the rest of their life. They're going to renounce, means let go of the world, in a way, kind of become a monk. And indeed, even some of them really become monks. Right, so the idea is they've done their duty, right? They had jobs and families, have done all that. And now that the purpose of retirement at the end of your life is not just, yay, lay around, do nothing. No, it's actually quite the opposite. That now finally, it is your time to do what monks do around the world, to do what holy men and women do around the world, and that is to focus on the highest truth. Some really do become like monks. Some become what are called sadhus, where they leave everything. They give away everything they own. And I mean everything. Okay? 100% everything. They're almost naked. And then they walk around, or they go someplace, and they basically meditating and praying all day. Others might become monks, like a Buddhist might become an actual monk and enter into a monastery. Others don't go quite that far. They don't completely go just sadhu and leave everything. They stay at home. If they're married, they stay at home with let's say, using the example of a man, they stay at home with their wife. But now their time is spent, much of their time is spent focused on this, on gaining wisdom. Reading their holy books, practicing meditation, several hours a day, praying, going to temples, giving to charity, maybe doing work for charity. So the idea being that what this retirement time, this end of life time, this end of last part of your life is for, is, well, I think they would say, is to seek God. But we could say it in a non-religious way, which is to seek wisdom. And to make that your number one thing. Because see, the thing is, with normal people, most of us, right? When you are a householder, when you have duties to your family, you have duties to your society, duties to your job or your career or your business. Well, of course, you can't live like a monk completely, right? You may even be a very religious person or a very philosophical person, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to do all those things, to get married, to have children, to go to work, to do all of those things takes a lot of energy and time and focus. And so even if you are very religious or very philosophical, you have limited time to focus on, reading great books or meditation or whatever. So the idea is that when you finally do that duty, you get older, now that becomes number one. Now you have the time, and that's what you will fill your time with. Some people fill 100% of their time, and maybe some it's more like 80%. They're still doing some things with their families, but mostly they are focused on that. Leaving behind those normal worldly things and focusing on truth and wisdom. I admit I like this idea. That's how I imagine myself retiring. This is the image I have for myself and the idea I have for myself at the end of my life. I hope I'm lucky enough to live a nice long life and to have the time to do that once my duties are mostly finished. But I think it's just such a wonderful, positive, powerful tradition and wise tradition. And I think it's a great alternative to the American one. Because the American one, I always have thought, I mean from a quite young age, I've always thought the American one, there was something wrong with it. Even as let's say a young teenager, I would hear about this idea, I just thought, well, that's crazy. Why would I do that? Number one, I thought, like the idea, when you're retired, then you can travel. And I thought, well, why should I wait? That's crazy. Why wait until I'm 65? Well, I can just do it now. Do it when I'm 20. It seemed crazy. And I thought, it's also just sitting around doing nothing. That doesn't sound very interesting to me. Why would I want to do that at the end of my life? But this Indian tradition, I love it. I really think this should be one and it may be a tradition other places too. I just know of it from India. As I said, now in India, it's very specifically a Hindu tradition. I guess perhaps Buddhist also. But I think any religion would work for this. And even for those of you who are not religious, you could have a secular version of this. It will still give you great meaning and purpose in your retirement. I think that's a great thing to look forward to in old age. Instead of, I'll just play golf and sit around doing nothing. I think this is a much more powerful thing to think about. Like a secular version of this, you could just, again, the idea of pursuing wisdom and truth, you could spend those years reading the great classic works and studying and contemplating and thinking about deeply the great classic philosophers. Right? Read all the works of Aristotle that we have and study them and think about them. And Plato and Confucius and Lao Tzu and others. And you could add to that the great classic wise literature of humanity. The Iliad, the Odyssey, the Aeneid would be ancient European examples, and there are other examples from other parts of the world. That, to me at least, seems like a much more meaningful way to retire. You're not retiring from life. You're not retiring from purpose. Because to retire from means kind of to leave behind. You're just retiring from those kind of everyday worldly duties that you did, hopefully, happily, that you should do. But now you've reached a point in your life, you've done those things and you don't need to continue focusing on them so much. And now in your retirement time, you focus on, whatever is most meaningful to you. The highest truth, the highest wisdom, and the practice of that. I think that's at least one great alternative vision, image, idea, tradition of retirement. I have to say, the more I think about it, the more I study, the more I read these ancient Indian books, much, much, much respect to the cultural traditions of India, and especially ancient India. Quite amazing. All right, I'll talk more about the Upanishads as I read more. But hey, Indians, tell me more about this tradition. I'm very curious about it. And everyone else, tell me your ideas too. I'll be traveling tomorrow. No audio podcast tomorrow. I'll be traveling, but the next day I'll do a show from a tropical island, and I'll tell you which island when I get there. For now, you can guess. All right, go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Join my VIP program. Speak English powerfully. Train your English speaking. Speak fluently. Speak English effortlessly. That means you think in English. Do that with my VIP program. Join my VIP program. Commit. Use those lessons every month. Month after month, you get better and better and better. Join my VIP program. Become a VIP member today. Join now at effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. Go now to effortlessenglishclub.com.